It's all weird back here. It starts getting curly.
Weird-haired Paolo.
That's welcome to the drama that is Paolo's hair. No, Paolo isn't shrinking like I thought. His hair just got bigger.
So instead of having weird hair from Fat Albert, we've got weird-haired Paolo.
Mm-hmm. Agent of stuff.
I just got an email from mycomicshop.com that there's a couple of things in on my want list. And I noticed that usually the stuff on my want list is obscure, so I never get emails. Like I said, I put that that issue of Marvel Comics Presents that I showed a few weeks ago on my want list, and it finally came in like 2 years later.
See, it's funny you should say that.
But I put a bunch of issues of like the Spirit, the kitchen sink ones,
right,
and some stray bullets that I was missing on my want list. And they actually have them all already. It's like I could get them if I wanted to, but I just, don't want to buy them don't have the money for them right now. They're only like $2 a piece, but there's like $40 to $60 worth of issues that I want.
Yeah,
I just left them there so I wouldn't have to find them later when I wanted them. So now once a week, it's like, oh, these issues are in. Those issues. I think when they get like any copies of like, Stray Bullets #7 in, they just email me, even though they've already got 12 copies of it. If they get a 13th, they still email me.
Yeah, that happens. I get an email from them every once in a while about something I want that I can't afford either. So I get it.
I have probably ordered off my comic shop, I'm going to say 3 times my entire life, right? And it's funny you're saying you got emails from them because I got the same emails on a want list, but it's been so long, I didn't even check to see what it is. I don't care.
It's a great place for buying cheap issue, like especially like all the indie stuff I bought that I may have missed an issue of. Like I can remember when they first, like in the early 2000s, I think they first came online with that website. Yeah. Probably somewhere around 2005. I don't know. And I just filled in like holes in my collection that I couldn't get anywhere. Like, for example, the one I remember getting was there was a Fantagraphics series from the 80s by Carol Leigh called Good Girls. And for some reason, I missed you don't have to know it. Nobody knows.
I think I do. That's
But for some reason, I missed like Good Girls #4. There's only like 7 issues, and I missed one of them.
Yeah.
And you can, no one has it. No one had it. It's like you could search through all the back issue bins you want. Nobody's bringing Good Girls #5 with them to a con. They're just not.
Oh man, one year, several years. This is probably 10 years ago at Heroes Con. There was a dealer there one year, and this hasn't been there since, that just specialized in nothing but independent books.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he was an anomaly. He showed up.
It was like, great. I picked up stuff dirt cheap left and right, and he never was back after that.
Yeah, he showed up that one year. I don't know if we knew each other at the time, but yeah, I remember this dude. Yeah.
The reason he was never back is because he, went broke trying to peddle indie comics.
Well, it's possible. Of course, he's probably an older fellow at the time, so he's retired too. But
I just know when I found him, there was tons of people going through his stuff because it was just so obscure.
Well, I think another thing I picked up from my comic shop were some of the first comics of the Elric stuff that I somehow missed. Mm-hmm. Like there was like 5 or 6 between Pacific and First Comics Elric miniseries.
That was the Michael T. Gilbert Elric stuff, right?
Yeah. I'm a couple issues of that I missed. I'm able to get there like that.
I got the 12 issues of Quorum. I got the Michael T. Gilbert stuff for the first Gilbert. I got the next. Oh man, Sailors on the Sea of Fate, and then Weird of the White Wolf, and maybe the next one after that. I got all of those off eBay, 99 cents. Yeah. Every one of them, 2010. I'll never forget.
Did you ever pick up? Was it Hawk Moon or Quorum?
Yeah, a few of. Yeah, I picked those up as I can find them. Like I said, there's not a big demand for them, but they're just not out there,
Those Elrics are a little easier to find than your average indie because it's Elric, but they're still not that easy to find in general, and like back issue bins.
I'm fettuccine. I eat enough over the years. I've eaten enough over the years.
Penne, linguine, spaghetti.
I like bolognese sauce. So.
A couple issues of the 1980s Thunder Agents, I think I also picked up from and Dalgota. Does anybody remember that book?
Yeah, I got a complete set of Dalgota for $8.
Yeah.
I was missing an issue or two of it, and I remember finding them all those years ago. So it was great for like filling in that stuff because just nobody had that stuff.
See, it's sad we weren't hanging out in 2016 because I sold all that stuff. It sounds like almost everything you're looking for. I'm like,
I got it all 10 years before that. So
I was wondering what Dennis Fujitake did after Dalgota. It seems like he just kind of vanished after that.
Well, for two people talking, I mean, Dalgota did not blow me away, but it was cool. But somebody give a rundown on what Dalgota was so people will know what we're talking about.
Dalgota was a space dog.
Yeah, it's a science fiction series where you had an anthropomorphic dog as the main character.
Right.
I can't figure out why I heard about it for almost 15, 16 years before I found some. That's why it gets me. Like, it's fondly remembered, but when I read it, I was a little underwhelmed,
Well, it's a good series, but anybody who bought Dalgota in the 80s off the shelf loved it too because it was so different. There was nothing like it. Right. It's pre-Turtles, so it was before the black and white boom.
I'm trying to think what kind of dog he was. I mean, I keep wanting to say a boxer, but that's not quite it.
You know what I mean? Know.
I mean, he had a dog hair.
Boxer-ish. Yeah.
And he kind of looks like kind of looks like Gnort.
Oh, I never put that together. I'm going to die if Nort was just Dalgota. I mean, I'm going to laugh.
Nort's not Dalgota. Oh.
I don't know.
Well, it could be a parody. That's actually funny. If you insert a character into a superhero universe and it's a parody of an independent character.
Yeah.
Pull out a Dalgota #1. So he was drawn in a realistic style, but he was a dog.
Right.
Yeah. There he is there. There's the back cover.
See, but he's got a mustache. I made you see. Now you can't unsee it. Now you will always see Gnort when you see Dalgota.
And it looks very European inside.
That's okay. See, Lady in the Tramp, there's a dog and Lady in the Tramp that looks like that in the face.
It had more of a European coloring to it than most books had back then.
Yeah. It looks like it's got that shot directly from the coloring, like Europe. And it's got that thin line, that European line to it, too. So this was, something that was very different in, when did this come? August 1984. Is Dalgota, and I think did he appear in an anthology book first? I can't remember.
I want to say he did. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm serious. There was a solid 15 years where that book would be hyped by somebody in a comic book shop, at a comic book convention. There was not a year that went by that I didn't hear about that at least twice.
Yeah, I looked for that for years and years and years, then found the whole set for $8. I'm like, give me that.
Yeah, it looks like since this one's got near mint on it, I must have been missing the last issue. That's what I got from my comic shop. So I haven't read this probably in 15 years since I bought them, but it was good stuff. I always, 84. It looks like most of this was done in. It really, as an indie comics guy, if you were an indie comics guy in 1984, you were buying Dalgota because it was good stuff. I mean, it wasn't, the greatest comic in the world, but it was good stuff.
Right.
Well, I have a character that I think may need to be our mascot for the show, I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm convinced, like, the Matrix is real and there's a glitch. Like, this really didn't exist until, like, you guys mentioned it and reality reshaped itself. Because I got a few things I got last weekend and stuff, but for, like, less than $1 a piece, it's coming from Mr. X.
Nice.
Mr. X has been around since 82. And it's like few people talked about it. I might have seen one or two in a dollar bin. And now all of a sudden that I've been made aware of it, it's everywhere. Now, Dark Horse issues. I left behind some of the 80s stuff because they were like $3 a piece. And I'm like, these aren't going anywhere, if I ever get back there, But that's what's cracking me up. Mr. X is everywhere now, and I can't believe I found at the Mercer Mall at a mall, at a card show for $1. I found his first appearance and didn't even realize. You know what I mean? I'm like he didn't exist before this show. Somebody's messed with me.
And just before we came on, I read the latest issue of Spawn. And I have to read you a couple parts of it just because I think it's an okay comic. I've never been a huge Spawn fan. But I've been buying it recently just kind of out of nostalgia and because it's still a $3 comic. But sometimes Todd McFarlane, like I think I read you something in the last issue that made me laugh out loud with his writing. Sometimes he does stuff that like your high school English teacher would correct, would go, don't do that. Where he repeats things one sentence after the other. Where is it? Here we go. And this panel whatsoever. The caption read, slowed from his battle, Omega's reactions have been slowed.
I do a lot of notes at work where I'm a social worker.
Uh-huh.
And that's the kind of thing you do at the end of the day when you're emotionally drained and you have to get this in because Medicaid's coming after you. So when your one job is to do comics, old Todd needs to stop watching some hockey games or something and writing at 2 a.m. Slowed by the battle is actually. What issue is that? Let's show everybody this issue.
317, the brand new one.
Yeah. Okay.
And there it is. And he does the same thing. And if he did it once, that would be funny. Let me see. Where's the second one? It was right after that. But it's just kind of like, oh, here we have. We have no choice. It's our only choice.
This is, you know what? This is the kind of guy that he's going to go get. He's going to go get a tattoo, and he's going to think that it's like an Asian symbol that means something like third eye open, and actually it means soup.
Mm-hmm. Your high school English teacher would tell, probably your Portuguese teacher too, would tell you not to use the same word twice in a sentence.
Your elementary school teacher would do that.
But just maybe
I have a solution. Just replace one of the repeated words by advantageous.
There you go. His webbing advantageous. I'd also like to put out that I was reading most of the comics. And then at one point we got to this page.
Hold on.
Oh.
And I just skipped it.
They're back. That's going all the way back to 92.
They haven't aged a day.
I was like, I don't care what they're saying.
That's what kills me. Whenever you see newscasters, it means somebody really loved Frank Miller's Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Returns.
exactly. And that's a good solid block of type that I just skipped, and it made no difference. None.
See, to me, every comic doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but at least every page should have to do with the story. You follow me? Don't waste your space, man.
Like I enjoyed the comic. Don't get me wrong, because it's a decent. Todd, if you like Todd McFarlane comics, it's decent. But just those, high school 101 stuff that it's like you do that in the 9th grade, and your teacher says, "Don't do that." Okay, find another word instead of choice. Don't use choice twice in the same sentence.
At least
find another word other than slowed.
At least he's not doing Hickman.
Yeah.
And then Gorvidal was like, "Good day, gentlemen. I too bought Delgota at the time. It was different, like Jared said, but even Tim's malls are better than his. Not for long, Yeah. I feel like everything's going downhill. I finally did a video on going to stores and shops, and you get up there if you go through their stuff, and they decide to check eBay for prices to gouge them instead of what they're actually worth. So there's a lot of that going on around here now. And what's bad is one guy is actually sort of a friend of mine. So I'm like, this is awkward, but no, you know.
I bet I know who that is.
Even Comic Crack.
Oh, Terrence.
All right. So I did take off to Bristol last week. After I was like out of my mind last week on that second COVID shot. I go to Bristol. Bristol is like, I don't know, hour and 10, 15 minutes away from me. Bristol's on the state line of Virginia and Tennessee.
So not Bristol, England, because I see you've got some Miracle Man there.
But there you go. But my goal was to make it to Johnson City, which is maybe 30 minutes more down the road because they have a flea market. Mm-hmm. Well, I thought I shook off that COVID shot. I thought it was something I could handle, and I ended up making it to halfway. And I'm like, I might have fucked up.
Because they're not that far apart.
No, they're not. They felt like miles. I felt like I was in the middle of nowhere all of a sudden, right? It came across. And I'll get it in a minute, but I found I stopped at this old Abingdon, Virginia has a flea market that's nothing. I'll just go ahead and tell you it's nothing. But they do have a guy that's selling trading cards and stuff. I found a whole wax pack of Crow, the City of Angels from like 1995 or something, the sequel. Found that. I bought it since I was there, but I ended up making it to Bristol to the comic book shop, and that's where some of these dollar books are. But I ended up I could finally read this 3-part miniseries there towards the end of Eclipse, the Miracle Man Apocrypha. Is that how you say that?
Yes.
Anyway, part 2 of 3. I never thought I would find this. I have had 1 and 3 forever, but I refuse to read them. They're not sequential. They're anthologies, little short stories. Mm-hmm. But this had people who became famous years later. Yeah. Kurt Busiek, Neil Gaiman was on the book. Some of Alex Ross's first stuff is in here. I think it's this one. And then I also found part 2 of the 4-part Corbin Banner series that he did on the Hulk. This is the one that I don't try to hype up and tell people you have to have it. This was me saying, my God, Corbin is on the Hulk, finally. That's one of those dream teams in my head. You know what I mean? Yeah. It didn't matter. I would rather he had wrote it himself. But Brian Azzarello did it. So I've had 1, 3, and 4 forever. And I about fell down when I found number 2. The only one in the box was this one. I'm like, that's where that went,
I have that in one of the Bruce Jones hardcovers. They put that in the back of it. I forget which one. Either Volume 1, Hulk: Return of the Monster.
Really? They put this in the Bruce Jones. Yeah. He was doing the series at the time. Yeah. But I'll pop up here, man. But there's like little things, man. Just seeing to me, Corbin was meant to do the Hulk, in my opinion.
They stuck it in the back of this one.
Here we go. Yeah, Corbin just draws power. Where are we at here? Let me get off here. All right.
Yeah, they stuck it in the back of this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I passed that up before. So if I'd known Corbin was in there, I probably would have got it.
It's got Startling Stories banner. Right? That's what that is, Startling Stories, right? It's a...
All right.
Yeah, 4 issues.
Let me see here. All right. Yes, Comic Crack. We did talk Delgado.
You did.
That's right.
Pulled out some issues. We were talking Delgado a little bit.
Great shirt, Scott. John C. is here.
If you don't like Forbidden Planet, I don't know what to tell you.
He's getting a second shot tomorrow. Told colleagues he may be dead, but not to worry. Oh, his second COVID shot. I was like, I still show up for work on Monday as the ghost who walks. Of course, we know. We're with friends here.
He showed up to work in purple leotards.
It seems to be the day after you get the shot that you feel the worst. That's what it was for me and a bunch of other people. So if you're getting the shot on Saturday, it's Sunday you'll have to rest.
Now, here's something I'm just going to have to break down, and I might just go to my comic shop and just go ahead and get the rest of them because I have assorted issues. These are square bound, and then I've got some of the, sort of the trades that came out, and I'm finding these cheap. I even got the trades for like $1, I think, right? But this is when Boom Studios, I think they won an award for this. They just took Philip K. Dick's do Android Stream of Electric Sheep, and they're just doing a faithful, straight adaptation, word for word, and illustrating the book.
I tried to read that digitally. I got it on Hoopla. I was like, oh, I want to read this. And I read, I don't know how much of it, not a lot. And I said, I just want to read the short story.
Right. But I've read the short story, so I
haven't read the short story. I was reading that and going, oh my, it didn't work for me at all. I didn't like the art much. I didn't think the art and the text went together well. But I did download the short story, and I'm going to read that sometime.
There were parts that what I will say is there were parts that worked better than others. I mean,
yeah,
it's one of those things. Again, I don't push it on people, you know.
Right.
No,
but
I didn't think it was terrible. It just didn't work for me.
I found 2 issues, and I read them, and I'm like, "That's cool." Over time, I got maybe 2 or 3 more issues, and I read those, and I'm like, "What is this? What?" You know, I was like, "What happened?" You know, so it's like I found 2 of the good ones right away. But I'm at this point, I'm just like, I just need to complete it. I've been piecing this thing together for, I don't know, maybe 5 years, just keeping an eye out for it. It might just be time to commit. But I think it won some awards, you know, so it is an award-winning series, you know.
I was thinking
and I might like it better physically.
I was thinking there's K. Dick stories that probably wouldn't translate well into comics.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of the action's more cerebral than it is, you know, visually, it wouldn't make for a good adaptation.
My Philip K. Dick stuff is in all these collections I have of like the year's best science fiction or whatever, collections of post-apocalyptic stories and stuff. I just read one that was actually, there was no way they could adapt it. And I'm not going to go in here and dig through these books till I find it. I'll just wait to do that in private tonight at midnight when I can't sleep and I'm thinking of it. You know?
I can just see it now. Becky say, "What are you doing, Tim?" "I'm looking for Dick."
It would be the first
time.
Yeah. This series wrapped up with it before. Dead End Kids. And I have to say, I really, really liked the ending. They did something completely different with the ending that I hadn't seen before. Kind of hadn't really seen before. The story. I'll spoil the ending for you guys just because no one's reading this anyway. This is a story, Dead End Kids, about these 3 high school kids, 1 guy, 2 girls, who were friends but then kind of drifted apart. And this is the story about them kind of drifting together again because they found a bag full of money. And like they're all kids with like the guy. The guy has an older sister who died in Afghanistan, so he's all messed up. The one girl I think she's got a younger brother in the hospital. And it's like wrecking their family. And I think they're also Muslim. So they're dealing with, you know, being I think this takes place like 10 or 15 years ago too. And then I forget the problems of the second woman, but it's mostly about them dealing with this bag of money, dealing with these drug dealers, and they're kind of, you know, becoming friends again. Because like I said, they drifted apart for various reasons that they go into. But then the way it ends, which I found interesting and very affecting, was they're trying to their plan was to sneak into the drug dealers, you know, headquarters or whatever it was, some shack they all hung out. This isn't the big city. This is out in the suburbs. So they're not the most dangerous drug dealers around, but they'll beat you with a pipe. And so they want to break in to the place they hang out. They figure out how to break in and leave the money there and take off. Of course, the plan goes awry. In this issue, they end up in this, you know, fist fight, the pipe fight with these drug dealers, and it's kind of going back and forth. But eventually, what happens is, the climax of the fight, we get one of the drug dealers pulls the knife off of one of our heroes, and we assume stabs this girl because the last thing we see is this her eyes going bright in a and a shunk. And then after that, it cuts to it cuts to black, then almost goes to an Animal House ending, where they were kind of like, what does it say here? But they're kind of like that was just one. Like I told you, in life there are no do-overs. Those stories have already been told. So it's kind of like all of a sudden we cut to a scrapbook. It was like, this fight wasn't even important. It was them getting back together that was important. And then we get these pages of what happened afterwards. The girls in the hospital. And at one point, like before the fight broke out, one of them called 911. So you assume the cops came and arrested these drug dealers and brought the woman to the hospital and took care of her. And then we get to see them remain friends for the next part of their life, or what they kind of give it. And it was really nice, except the one thing that really killed me was like
their choice was they had no choice. No.
No. Was after like 3 pages of them showing you their life after this event, and they're all nice and happy, we get local hero killed in Iraq. So it was like the guy joined the army like 7 years and died in Iraq like 7 years late in 2017, I think it takes. But I was just like, I just read that story about all those nice people, and it was only like a newspaper headline panel. But it really affected me. I was like, oh man, their lives were so nice finally, and they put their lives together. Their friendship was strong, and much like his older sister, he ended up saving guys in his platoon, but still dying in Iraq. I found that a very affecting ending there.
Well, I'll tell you,
different than most.
I'll tell you what kind of makes me want to check that out. It's not so much your description of it, but you can tell it's a good comic book where you try to tell people about the plot of the comic book, and it doesn't work. That means you have to read the book and put your name in. It draws you in because you're invested. It's the show of how invested you are in the story. You know what I mean?
And especially the last issue really drew me in. It really did. Yeah. It was good stuff.
Yeah.
And it drew me in that I was upset that this guy died 7 years after this story. And
All right. I'm gonna show something just to get it. Anybody got anything else they want? Scott, you bought. Wait a minute. Didn't Scott show us something he bought? And it was like bring it on the show. Al Williamson or something. You've got.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Go get it.
I got my Kickstarter package.
You got it here. Okay.
From Flash Publications. I'll show you a couple things I got here. If I can dig them out. The first one is the 4th volume of Cavern, which is by Mark Schultz, who does Xenozoic Tales. And let's see if I can open this up. There's stuff in it.
Hey, is this the first time we put Scott on the solo layout?
Might be.
Basically, a lot of these are commissions that he's done. For private commissions. This is hard to flip.
Does this mean there's 3 other Carbons before that?
Yes. There's a Conan he did for somebody.
Oh, cool.
Really nice. There's one piece in here that's really outstanding. I'll have to find it. It folds out. And of course, now that I want to find it, I don't know what part of the book it's in. It's based on War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
Scott, you got a bunch of comics from Comic Crack here talking about the soundtrack to Forbidden Planet in this book. So
yeah, I'll discuss that here in a minute too.
Yeah. You got it. Hold on.
That's
hard. Get this off.
That's hard to see, but that's a double page fold out, and that's a private commission. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of anybody else in the business who does rendering like this these days.
Years ago at a convention in Roanoke, Scott and I met up there. Then we ended up being out in the parking lot for like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He had in the back of his car the artist edition of some Mark Schultz work,
Yeah,
and I didn't realize. I know we look sketchy as hell at his car with the
Probably so. There's another fold out he did here of some female characters are based on Edgar Rice Burroughs' Princess of Mars works.
Ah.
And again, that's a private commission too. Okay, can you imagine getting commissioned and getting that in the mail?
That's nice.
Amazing, and the whole book's full of cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's one that you probably don't expect from Mark Schultz. Is a Superman cover that he did.
Wow.
I've seen that. That's weird. I didn't know that.
I think he actually wrote that issue too.
Yeah.
Wonder how much he gets for a commission. It must be a lot.
10,000 plus.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
Depending on how big it is and what it is. Yeah.
How do you even find an audience that's willing to pay 10,000? That's amazing. To me.
There's a lot of rich people out there that are not you and I, Tim.
Did you ever hear the story of I don't know if I told the Facebook artist, they called him. He made the news I don't know, 5 years ago now, because he was the artist who painted murals in Facebook's office. And in lieu of payment, he took stock. And this is before Facebook was big. And then when the stock finally matured, like a decade later, he ended up getting like $1 million or $2 or something. But he was actually already rich. And he came on the Howard Stern show when that news story was big. And he was like talking about how crazy it was getting rich as an artist, because what he did was I think he said he moved to Vegas. And he was just an artist trying to make his way in Vegas. And he made friends with some rich people. And his paintings started selling for about $10,000 a pop.
Yeah.
And he was like, whoa. And then some of his rich friends said, no. You got to sell those for $100,000. And he was like, what? He's like, rich people don't want $10,000 paintings. They want $100,000 paintings. Right. And sure enough, since he had the connections, that's what he did. And he's like, it was insane. He started selling his paintings for $100,000 to rich people because they wanted something that nobody else could afford.
I could see that.
It's like, whoa. But he just stumbled on it. He's like, it was pure dumb luck. It was, a
lot of
nothing planned.
The right people at the right time.
Yeah.
And the other book I got here is Winston Adventures. And this is hardcover. There's a softcover version of it as well.
That's the one. Yeah.
This is the first of a 4-volume series that's going to cover Al Wilson's entire career. And let me see if I can see some different things in here. It's just chock full of all kinds of stuff, and this is all shot from original art too. There's a Thark he did from Edgar Rice Burroughs' work. John Carter. Oh gosh.
Yeah, when it comes to Al Wilson, man, I'm just.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Good stuff.
The choir, I realize. Let's see. I mean, it's just chock full of.
Some of his best stuff that I've ever seen was from King Comics in the '60s with his
more Flash Gordon
stuff in the '60s.
Let's see. Let me give you some.
Him, Russ Manning. Oh man, all those guys.
There's some EC work that's published in here. Star Wars.
Oh, it's got the Star Wars stuff in it. Nice.
Well, it's got pieces of it. Like
an
example, like a reprint.
Sample.
You can see where it's shot from the original art, so you can see the Star Wars title overlay.
Yep.
What else?
This Star Wars and Blade Runner stuff was some of the first stuff I noticed that name. You know what I mean? And it started making me look for him.
It's got Secret Agent X9. Some Western stuff that he did. Like this one's pretty cool. Buster Crab.
Buster Crab.
Flash Gordon, Tarzan, and Adventures.
So for you kids out there, For you guys out there that don't know who Buster Crabbe is, you really need to look him up. All right. Possibly the first action star.
And these are just classic. I mean, you can't get more classic than these two right here.
Oh yeah,
Weird science
covers.
And that one that he did with Frank Frazetta. And the whole book's just full of stuff like this. And this is only volume 1 of 4 volumes that are going to come out. So
wow,
Christmas came early this year.
Let's hope the spines match when you put them on the shelves. That's all I'm hoping.
I have to show you that I finally got this, which is the Clyde Fans book. I'll show you the part I complained about, and it came in a slipcase too, which I didn't realize. I took this out of the library like in 2019. This is one of my favorites, but this is what drives me bonkers.
Oh, that's the one with the hole in the cover.
Oh, it's a wonderful little design, but when you go to hold it, your thumb goes through it's just such a pain to hold, and it's such a big book. It's like you have to hold it. This just makes things so difficult to read.
You can cut out an insert that you can fit into there while you're reading it.
You know what'll fit me to plug that hole up? A Black Sabbath CD, sir.
But this is one of my absolute favorite comics. I've talked about it before, Clyde Fans, and take it out of your local library or whatever. But this one, like I said, this one is about a pair of brothers who sold fans all their life. And it's them looking back at their life, and it's full of nostalgia for Canada and the old days and this and that. And it's just them contemplating life.
The old days of Canada, I miss them days.
Yeah. If you had a business named OnlyFans these days, people would think something completely different.
This is Canadians, so Comic Crack should have this on his shelf.
I was going to say, I want Comic Crack to read that and let us know what the old days of Canada were like. I mean, I'm seriously interested. Like, what would that be? Is that like us in America thinking of the 50s? I don't know. You know.
Yeah, a lot of it is the 50s.
Yeah.
And it's just good. He creates such a rich world. The old days in downtown Canada. It creates such a rich world that you get nostalgic for. It's like, you know.
Oh, look at this.
I have a coffee signed by the man himself. All right, then. You better.
So, Comic Crack, if you know why he left a hole in the cover, you know, just let Jared know. You know, this has been eating him alive for years. You know.
If since 2019, it's only then
So,
hole in the cover. Did he ever try to read his own book?
So I've told the story of Tardy, that the illustrator, the comic, the legend of France over there, right? About how in 2000 or 2001, a friend of mine brought back a French comic book by Tardy, and it's in French, and I was never able to do it. Well, you talk about when it rains, it pours. So I've been able to find some Fantagraphic. Doing this show, people have told me Fantagraphics has some Tardy stuff and this and stuff, right? So I get to Bristol. I walk into the comic book shop. I'm looking around at his books and on there, and then all of a sudden on the wall, he's just got this up by itself on a shelf, right? And I went, my poker face was gone. I was like, Tardy.
Just what I was thinking. It's like you walked into a comic book shop and they had a Tardy book. That's awesome.
Well, it's kind of cool what he said though. But like, I feel like I walked into a strip club and I whipped out my wad of $1 bills. Whoops, that's what it felt like. So he sits there and I was looking at this and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it's noir. I know that Tardy does great crime and noir stuff and everything, right? So I'm talking to him and I'm like, well, what's this doing here? He's like, I always try to get something different in the shop and I'm just wasting my time. Everybody wants the superheroes, Yeah. So and then bless his heart, he goes on to tell me that he sold his Fantastic Four 52 finally. This is a book that he told me when he was 12 he would let one of his friends borrow. They wouldn't give it back. So this is where he and I bonded because I have a story very similar that I did when I was also 12 with Chris Hicks. But he went up and knocked on the door and he busted past the guy's mom, ran up to the kid's room, beat him up, took the books back. And it was the Fantastic Four Kirby stuff when it came out. So anyway, he sold it and he was like, I'm 68 and I want people to feel the joy I had. You know? So I'm sitting here and I'm just like flipping through the books, and I've known Rob off and on for 30 years. So I was just sort of like, so we're doing this. That's what was going through my head as had this COVID shot going through me. You know? So after I get everything, I look over there. I was like, well, since you've had that on the shelf for over a year, I ended up getting like a 30% discount on it. I was able to haggle this. So basically, I've got a feeling Paolo's going to know who this is, but this guy, Manchette, I don't know.
Shit.
Thank you. Apparently, he is a famous crime novelist who writes film noir. And he and Tardy did a couple stories together over a course of like 30 years that everybody had to wait on. The first story that I read in this is right. I mean, you could fit this right into the Maltese Falcon with the tone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. And but the page that cracked me up was that he goes after this girl he was sleeping with. Oh no, excuse me. He goes after this girl he was sleeping with because she ran to a phone booth to call the crime boss, right? That he's tracking down. So she won't get out. He's yelling she doesn't have enough change. So he shoots her. And then another goon comes up from behind him trying to stop him. He rams him into the glass and kills him. Then he just walks off with a telephone booth full of dead people, and he just walks off. And I was reading this, I was like laughing my ass off, because I was picturing it. I was picturing it like a black and white movie,
So you mentioned Maltese Falcon. I just watched it when I was down after the day after the COVID shot. I was sitting in the chair all day. I watched Maltese Falcon.
It's a classic. I mean, I've had it on VHS and DVD. I had to put it up along with Blade Runner. Those are the two movies I can watch over and over and over.
I rewatched M a couple of weeks ago too.
Huh?
The Fritz Lang movie M with Peter Lorre?
Yeah.
I rewatched that a couple of weeks ago. That's a very powerful movie.
Yeah.
Well, when the serial killer tries to tell people why he kills people, I want to know how the guy who wrote the movie knows this crap. Because that stands today, mob rule and all that stuff, and yeah.
I don't think I've seen the movie, but I have the who did the graphic novel? John J. Muth.
John J. Muth did it.
Yeah, that's a nice piece.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I got that just a few years ago. The whole thing. I don't
know. Terry
Well,
wouldn't know that because that's a Black Sabbath album. So.
So I got this for $2.35. This is one of two books that I ordered on eBay when I was really sick and didn't know.
DP7?
14 issues of DP7.
Oh.
Now, it's not a bad mistake. That was for $2.35. But you got to understand, I am a New Universe fan. You're
the only one.
Yeah, it's all right. They're not all winners. They're not
Starbrand was the only New Universe series I liked. The J.R. Jr. Jim Shooter issues were good.
I think I have one issue of St. George in a box somewhere.
St. George isn't New Universe. It's Shadowline Saga.
Okay, well there you go.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a few issues from Shadowline Saga. I have St. George. I have a few Dr. Zeros, but not the whole series. I have St. George, I have the whole series, and the other one. What was it called?
Oh no! Don't do this. It's right on the tip of my tongue. St. George, Dr. Zero.
Where was the Shadowline Saga from?
Epic. It was made by D.G. Chichester and Margaret Clark. Okay. The artists changed for a bit. One issue of St. George, the fill-in artist was Jim Lee. He inked himself.
That's the greatest thing.
Yeah. And it was Sienkiewicz painted covers all around.
Yeah. St. George covers. I have a few beat up issues just for the Sienkiewicz covers. I've tried to read those, man. They were rough. I don't care what anybody says. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest about it. I will not destroy the books because they were doing something different and it was very of its era. But wow, what a chore to read some of those, man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Terror.
Yeah, go ahead.
The guy was Terror Inc. He appeared there before he was transitioned into the Marvel Universe. His name was Shrek.
Huh. Interesting.
That was before, but that was before the Shrek movie. And Chichester explained that he had to explain it. He was asked if it was the same character because he doesn't exactly act the same way, but it is the same character. And Shrek is terror in German. So,
that's all. But
you said hard to read, and I immediately thought it's our only choice. We have no choice. That's hard to read.
I think it was a tight universe. I think you needed to read the other ones to kind of get what was going on with the rest of them. Right. So, when you're 14, 15 years old reading those, you're like, what the hell? I'm like, you have no editor's note telling you to go look at another issue.
Where else are you going to get commentary on Shadowline Saga that was immediately, right after talking about Jacques Tardy?
And we have a Comic Crack and a few other people, I think just Comic Crack right now. It seems like Gorvidal might have said something that know what we're talking about,
Possibly.
The thing about Shadowline Saga, because it was developed by Marvel editors, even though it was published by Epic, it's still owned by Marvel. And there's actually a very short list of Epic material that is owned by Marvel because everything else was creator owned.
Yeah, Swords of the Swashbucklers.
Mm-hmm.
That was creator owned.
Yeah.
This is another book I don't remember ordering off of eBay. The reason I'm popping it up is not to interrupt Paolo, but like he's talking about the Epic line. I feel like I've been saying I've rediscovered the Epic line, if you will, and I'm loving just about everything I find from that line of books.
Was that the graphic novel?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what order
I got
they
it
came
for $7. Don't remember ordering it. No shipping. Just $7.
Was there a Swords of the Swashbucklers Epic series and then the graphic novel?
Yeah. Go, Paolo.
I can't remember the order, if the graphic novel came out before the series or if it was after.
I think it was after, but I'm not 100% sure.
I always wanted to read those.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I remember who wrote them?
Bill Mantlo.
Bill Mantlo and Butch Geis. Right?
See, I'm all about Geis's art. I can just look at his stuff over and over. And there's nothing more I can't believe this, man. Like there's things that make me feel nostalgia out of nowhere for the 80s from playing D&D and whatnot. But it seems like everybody was drawing skulls and roses together in the 80s.
That reminds me.
And that reminds me of a DC series by Ed Hannigan. It only lasted It was only 3 issues. It was a prestige miniseries, Skull and Bones, and it's set in just as the Soviet Union is collapsing. But the guy becomes a folk hero during the Soviet Union's collapse.
So you maybe want to go find the ad. I remember seeing an ad for it.
Since Tim showed us his Marvel role-playing game last week, I dug deep into my closet to find this, which I knew was there but didn't know where it was. The Elf Quest role-playing game.
Yeah, made by Chaosium.
I used to have miniatures that went with it. I don't know what happened to them, but this came out in the early 80s. What has it gotten here? World Book, Elf Book, and what else? Elf Quest Example of Play book.
Yeah.
You get character sheets. What is this? These are all character sheets. Yeah, more character sheets. They gave you tons of character sheets.
You might be interested to know that a box set like that is worth a pretty decent amount of money these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to look. I used to have these miniatures. I may have given them away to an ElfQuest fan. I don't know.
I bet they were made by Ralph Partha, too.
The role-playing game that I want, because I got to lay eyes and hands on it in the 90s off of one of my stepdad's friends who had it, was the Elric role-playing game. And when eBay came around from day one, that thing was pricey on eBay. But it will be mine one day. It will be mine.
There's a couple different versions of that, too, Tim. So one of them's
there's a
not that expensive.
AFCM Games catalog.
Yeah.
I guess that's who made it.
Yep, that's the company that published it.
Oh, look at that. There's
Chaosium.
a map.
Chaosium is probably the reason that that Cthulhu is so prevalent in modern pop culture these days. Because they really got H.P. Lovecraft into the mind of the public when they released the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game.
All right, Jared's going to pop out in about 10 minutes for everybody that's watching. I'm going to go ahead and get – I've still got work calling me. I'll be right back.
Okay.
It's over with before he goes.
But it's hard to believe this has been kicking around in my possession since, 1983 or something.
I have a whole shelf of stuff like that.
Never played it. Never found anyone to play it with, so I never played it. But I always thought it was cool.
The game.
Do what, pal?
No, you never played it, but you must have the game.
Yep.
Dude, I've got most games I have. I've never played.
That was also back in the days when there was no merchandise for anything.
And
so if you were an ElfQuest fan, you bought the comics, and then eventually they put out something. I was like, all right, I'll get that. Why not?
Maybe you may have had a fanzine that came out from the ElfQuest fan club kind of thing. But
yeah, that was it. Like I said, they used to have these little miniatures. I think there was 2 sets of miniatures that I had.
If you're ever at a show or something and you ever find the Gru miniatures, then $20-$50, pick them because they go for $250 plus now.
Wow. I also found a bunch of old toys in the closet that I didn't know I still had, like superhero stuff from the 90s when I used to buy some.
Okay, so action figures then?
Yeah. I still have my childhood Megos tucked away, but I knew I had those.
I had the Spider-Man Mego. One of the conversations I've had in the past few years was a friend of mine on Facebook. He's also an artist. And he posted a picture of the Conan Mego figure.
Okay.
Conan's hair in that picture looks a lot like James Brown's hair. And so that's
he had real hair.
But Conan crossed with James Brown quotes. And oh God, that was so funny.
Get up off of that thing by Crom.
Crom's got a brand new bag. Crom don't take no mess.
Conan and Sue Storm had the Barbie hair, kind of real hair.
I had the Spider-Man one when I was a kid. I also had the Star Trek Megos, and I wish I still had them.
When I was a kid, I used to kit bash before I knew that term with my Mego heroes. Right. Sometimes I had doubles. Sometimes some of them broke, and I'd have to repair them. And so you put one leg on it. Sometimes I remember I made a Wolverine. I took like a Conan, and I remember I used Iron Man's gloves and put these like metal spikes through the gloves so I could make it. Didn't look much like Wolverine, but it was closer than
Well, you had to style his hair.
Yeah, that's basically what they did with Caption Action over in the UK. Was they took a generic figure, and they did different costumes and everything, just all kinds of different licensed properties.
And Spider-Man was forever fighting the Lizard Brothers because I had 2 lizards.
Sounds like a wrestling.
Dalgoda.
Speaking of Mego toys and stuff, do you remember the Heroes World comic format catalogs that the Joe Kubert School did?
No.
Yeah, there were catalogs of nothing but toys and action figures and things like that. But instead of having photographs of all the items, they were all drawings by guys who went to the Kubert Art School.
Oh, I'd never seen those.
They're neat just in and of themselves, just to look through it.
Yeah, I wish I'd kept a couple of those Mile High Comics catalogs from the late 70s when I was a kid, sending away a quarter in the mail to get one.
Yeah, that's true. I still have all my Bud Plant catalogs, and those are nice to keep around just to find stuff like, why didn't I get this when it was cheap? Or,
I remember. I don't have it
back then, so.
When I would get my hands on one of those, I would look through it. That was an art book to me. Those Bud Plant catalogs. Just pour through them, trying to find
an art book where you can order even more art books. Really destroy your wallet.
Destroy.
Oh, I'll check that out.
To comment on what Terrence said there, the Board Game Geek is run by the same people that run RPG Geek as well. So they have a sister site, and they're very comprehensive. It's kind of like the Grand Comics Book database for games.
Okay.
Nice. Jared, it is 6:55. Is this your?
Yep, I gotta head on over to my Zoom meeting.
All right. So
I'll check and see if you guys are on when I'm back. I think I'll be over there for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 8 or 8:30. We'll see how long it actually goes. I think last year it went shorter the show, so we'll see.
No worries. We'll do the old tradition of now that that asshole's gone.
Now that asshole's gone. All right, I'll catch you guys later then.
Later.
Now that asshole's gone. No.
To give you a warning, if you do start looking at Board Game Geek and Role Playing Game Geek, be prepared to spend a good 4 or 5 hours easy.
Spend hours. Okay, I was going to say when it comes to money, I'm like, I just want that Elric game. I'll be
okay. But if you start looking at different stuff that's related to it, you'll go down rabbit holes, man.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'd like us to eventually do a show where we just talk about Epic, the Epic line of comics in the 80s, man, and rediscovering those. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done the whole thing. There's no comic book shop and all that stuff around here. I'd see the ads for them. And now that I've got a hold of like Moonshadow and Black Dragon, Swords of...
I like Black Dragon. That was a good one.
Swashbucklers, all that
Video
stuff.
Video Jack.
I found a book called Slash Maraud. I should have bought it.
Yeah, I should have bought that one because it came out in Brazilian editions. And I had them in my hand and I didn't buy them. I bought Video Jack, which I don't know where it is now, but I should have bought the Slash Maraud because I heard that it was better. Video Jack wasn't that much, even though it was made by Carrie Bates.
I think, I don't know. I think the one I saw was a Doug Moon. No, it probably was. I don't know. But it was a mini-series by DC in the 80s. But what caught my attention is that it was Garth Ennis's Hitman. Same green trench coat, red. I mean, it was Hitman with a mullet. You know?
Yeah, it was.
So you're saying it was Jason Statham with hair?
Yeah, but like, I don't know, I think it's something like I'm going to say like 6 years before Hitman. So there's no doubt what came first. And I wished I'd gotten it. I'd gotten a great big huge stack of dollar books, and I was like, that didn't make the cut, you know.
Still have about 7 or 8 issues of Epic Illustrated to get to complete the whole run on that.
Nice. So we hit the Ollies, and I have my original issues I bought off the stands. You know what I mean? But when I was 12, no comic book shop, Squadron Supreme was my Watchmen. You know what I mean? When everybody was reading their Watchmen and starting to get some hype on it, man. I'm sitting here like, you need to be reading Squadron Supreme. You know, I was like,
never read it.
So I thought this thing influenced Kingdom Come and the Authority, and it came right out of continuity. They were in the Defenders a few years before, and America and the world more or less have been taken over. There we go. Yes, yes. But it's also. But it turns out the guy, you know, this is the Justice League, you know, basically Squadron Supreme, and on their world, Kyle Richmond. Yes, I have that also. That's their Crisis on Infinite Earths, if you will. But he's actually the president. But America's in shambles because Overmind had come back from the future and took over everybody's minds and just ran America into the ground. So everybody's like starving and everything. And Squadron Supreme decided that they're going to take over for a year, screw the Constitution, screw everything. And they start taking guns, give people pacifiers. They start getting behavior modification machines where they take criminals and they actually brainwash them with this. And it shows how all this stuff can go wrong. It shows what happens when you mess with, America, basically. And through the whole thing, you think they're doing a good thing. Like everything is going the way it's supposed to be. They're heroes, being proactive. And then at the last issue, Nighthawk comes out with a speech saying, way to go, guys. You've set it up where you have all the power. You're not going to be around forever. Do you think the people that you hand the power over are going to be as good as you? And everything goes back to the way it was. Everybody, a bunch of people die. And basically Nighthawk goes to the Marvel Universe get help, and he ends up just bringing back a bunch of villains that escape the Squadron Supreme, because they didn't want to have their mind messed with. So basically, you got Batman and the Outsiders with Catwoman, Joker, and the Penguin, all forming a group to go against the Squadron Supreme. Is basically what they're doing. It's brilliant.
Or it's Kingdom Come.
It's Kingdom Come. And Alex Ross flat out said, yeah, Squadron Supreme. When people when people go and do a storyline like that, they automatically are like, oh, yeah, I read Squadron Supreme, man. That's what I'm doing here. Yeah. The Authority, Squadron Kingdom Come, and a lot of stuff in the 2000s came out of Squadron Supreme. Yeah. Good stuff, man. So a lot of people will talk about Watchmen, and then all of a sudden you have some people that will veer off and talk about Squadron Supreme because it's coming out at the same time, you know. And then I finally have all of these in one volume. The John Lansdale, Tim Truman, a 30 miniseries they did at Vertigo of Jonah Hex, where they took Jonah Hex, got Tim Truman in there to give it that gritty feel. I mean, when you're done reading this, it's so textured and stuff. You feel like you need to go take a shower and shake.
Right.
You know? But I have multiple issues and copies. I don't have a complete set of one of these miniseries. Now they're all together. They've been together. $5 at Ollie's. Now getting
I
this,
would buy that. Yeah.
yeah.
I have Tim Truman's art.
Well, what's bad is these two books at Ollie's at the one in Bristol. I got a little emasculated because you walk in and it was on the top shelf, and the shelf was so high, you're wondering why they think anybody's even going to reach up there to get anything. So I met these two lesbians that were very nice, and one was taller than me, and one went way in the back to the school supply section, got a ruler, climbed two of the shelves, and pulled them down with a ruler while I'm down there catching them. We made such a spectacle. Some weird dude walked up to me and was like, do you have all of those? I mean, like volume ones. And you're just sort of like, this man is not right. And you're trying to be nice. You know, like, you know.
Remind me when we get done. I'm going to make a joke that I can't tell on the air. So.
Okay, let's do that. But these are fantastic, man. I had to set it down. I opened it up, started reading it, and I'm like, I got to go to bed. It's one of those reads. You know you're in trouble. But $5 for all of that. You know,
yeah, $5 for a bunch of Tim Truman. I'll jump on that.
Well, I've got a few of the number one issues, a bunch of I've got a ton of stuff signed by Tim Truman. You know, of those. You know,
did Joe Lansdale write that?
Yeah,
Oh.
and he tells the story of how he discovered Jonah Hex and how he became a writer, then got an offer from DC, and he asked specifically for Tim Truman. They were like, yeah, great. Can I write Jonah Hex?
A lot.
Yeah. He said, they said, hey, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to do Jonah Hex. And they're like, great. And he went, can I have Tim Truman? They went, yeah. And that was it. The funny thing was, the reason he started writing his horror is that his little kid memory, he went back and read the original Jonah Hex books that, for reference and stuff. And there was no horror in them. In his mind, the way Jonah Hex looked and the way he was remembering the stories, he thought the books had always been horror, and he was like, "No, I'm just going to go with that," So,
Darwin Cook did a Jonah Hex project too, didn't he?
Darwin Cook.
Yeah. Man, it's like maybe a one-shot Jonah Hex story, but
Jonah Hex has a cameo in
the Batman cartoon.
Yeah.
I don't remember a Darwin Cook Jonah Hex story, but I can see.
It seems like I had. Maybe it was just a short story and a compilation of something else. But
I'm having a memory of a Jonah Hex drawn by Darwin Cook, but I don't know if it was out of
maybe. Maybe I don't know. Just stuck in my head there for a second.
Well,
is it in New Frontier?
I bet.
I don't know if Jonah Hex was in New Frontier or not.
Yeah, if it was only a cameo.
Yeah. I don't know.
Man, New Frontier is so good.
Well, yeah, you went New Frontier. I'm sitting here thinking about when they turned, Jonah Hex into Mad Max with that Hex series where he got thrown into the future. And now I'm like, damn it, I shouldn't have sold that. I was like, I'll never read this again.
I've also heard the movie was not very good either.
Oh, it wasn't. I don't know. They didn't take it serious. You do a Jonah Hex movie, you got to have like a Clint Eastwood like spaghetti western. That's what he is.
Yeah.
Instead, they went with like this 1990s Tank Girl treatment. Is what it reminded me of.
Oh,
It
was it like
Wild Wild West with
that's what I was going to ask.
Ferrell.
Wild Wild West movie.
They messed it up so bad. They missed a great opportunity.
That is if that ever comes out, I don't know if Wild Wild West ever came out on Blu-ray or not, but if it does, I want to get that.
What, for the giant mechanical spider? Or
No, the original TV series.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was a little shocked to thinking you wanted the movie. It was so bad.
No, that's the only part of the movie that was worth watching was the giant mechanical spider. Yeah.
And the Batman books that I actually love these black and whites.
Yes.
Right?
Good stuff.
Volume 1 was a 4-issue miniseries, and would you believe it came out in 1996? Can you believe that? Yes.
It's been a while.
25 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Volume 2, I thought I missed the miniseries. Wow. Yeah. I thought I missed the miniseries, and it turns out that these were backup stories in Batman Gotham Knights 1 through 16. Which I never bought, but if I knew these were in the back of them, I would have. So it collects 16 stories. And this has, let me find some names here. John Buscema doing Batman proper, not that Stan Lee reimagines Batman. John Byrne, Howard Chaykin, Chris Claremont, Gene Colan with Tom Palmer, Garcia Lopez, Warren Ellis, Harlan Ellison, Jean Paul Leon. I love his stuff.
He's good.
Alex Ross, Steve Rude, Tim Sale, Maurice Severin, Walt Simonson.
Can you imagine a Batman story? Well, any story. Substitute a couple of ours. Can you imagine a Batman story that was written by Harlan Ellison and drawn by Steve Rude?
I think that's what's in there.
Let
me look.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. But
well, I have a Harlan Ellison detective story from the 80s. And
I have that.
Oh, my God. I was like, I hated it. He called it in. I'm like, what are you doing, Harlan? You know, he's kind of... where's the table of contents? Hold on. So many people. Paul Denny's in this.
Nice.
Harlan Ellison. It was Harlan Ellison and Gene Ha.
That's good enough. Yeah, it's not a bad combination.
Chris Claremont and Steve Rude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that brings up something I wanted to mention. I'd forgot about it. Scott Dunbier, who's an editor at IDW. He oversees the artist editions and a bunch of other things. I did not know this, but back in I think it was the 90s, they had pitched a Lord of the Rings adaptation for comics. Craig Russell. Here's what Scott wanted. It didn't happen. He wanted Craig Russell to do the adaptation. He wanted Mike Kaluta to do most of the characters and Charles Vest to do the backgrounds.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, that's like 3 of my favorite creators ever. And it's like, I hate that you even brought it up because it didn't happen, you know? But it's like, yeah, it's like, here's money, you know, here, take it. But that reminds me, because like it was, you know, one of these things that want to happen. And another one that never happened was a Shadow story that was going to be written by Harlan Ellison and drawn by Michael Kaluta. That was actually being worked on until Harlan found out it was a work for hire contract, and he said no. And I understand that. But the things that could have been, you know.
See, there's some things I'd rather not know, because I did have a Christmas where I got some crappy gifts. Like, 2 of the things I got I already had. You know, like, are you kidding me? And this, you know, and then all of a sudden they decided to tell me what they were going to get me for Christmas, but they were sold out. That was worse. That's what it's like when I hear certain projects that could have been in comics. I'm like,
and there was another one that's an animated project that never was Doug Wildey and Dave Stevens pitched a Doc Savage animated series to Filmation.
Yeah. Those old comic scenes, those old comic scenes would tell you projects. It'd be a whole page of pitches in Hollywood or TV shows or cartoons that would be coming.
Yeah.
Some of them I'm glad didn't get made, because the big one for years was Sergeant Rock, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'm like...
Yeah, I heard Bruce Willis's name. It was like bandied about for Sergeant Rock too.
Yeah. But I mean, Sergeant Rock is diehard. Like, I can't remember where he's actually from, but that's the whole deal. He's like, he's not. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he does not have an accent. You know, like,
No.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a Doc Savage animated series that was done like Johnny Quest?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, no. If it was done by Filmation, it would be done like He-Man.
And Flash Gordon, yeah, and Shazam and Flash Gordon, yeah, it'd be
Filmation had great writing, but they recycled art like they were Warner Brothers in the 1940s.
Yeah, absolutely. I still love the Filmation Flash Gordon series, though.
Yeah, I love Tarzan. Tarzan was on when I was like 6 or 7, and that I only found out later that it's the most faithful adaptation of Tarzan anything anywhere.
One of, I wouldn't say it's the most faithful, but it's one of the more faithful ones.
Just the fact that they portrayed the apes as not chimps and not gorillas,
Right.
that they could speak with Tarzan, that was good enough for me. And
Filmation didn't get a lot of credit for what they tried to do. They tried to do Star Trek like it was another season, not just a cartoon. They went to the books like you're talking about with Tarzan, and then with the Flash Gordon stuff, they went back to the strips and tried to serialize it that first season, which they did. And that drove the network crazy because they couldn't do reruns. And that's where you got. And then the second season, they went to those 7 plots that every cartoon has. You know,
that second season was not. It wasn't even.
They shrunk Flash Gordon down and had him chased by a cat. Okay, that was a whole episode right there. You know, I mean, you want good storytelling, like on low budget and stuff that they did fantastic with. You got to go with Land of the Lost. You know, I'm like, I'm still mad at Will Ferrell for having anything to do with that damn movie.
I haven't watched that, and I really don't have much desire to watch it. So.
Oh no, it's so bad.
Same with that. Well, unfortunately, I did watch the Green Hornet movie that was done by Seth Rogen. Not good. Not good.
With the barista stuff, I'm like, why are we wasting time with this? You know, I'm like, you know, there's.
Yeah. Having said that, do you remember the Phantom movie that was done back in the 90s with Billy Zane?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That was great. I wish they had continued those and done sequels.
It's on Amazon Prime now for anybody that's still watching. We're down to like 4 people. Everybody's like bailed. You know, it's Friday. It's the last. But the Billy Zane I thought it was fantastic, and then the Rocketeer was fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
I was let down by The Shadow because they were trying to be a Tim Burton movie, but apparently I'm like on an island of my own in that one.
The best part of the Shadow movie was the beginning with that bridge sequence.
Yeah. See, I had another movie. I lost it. Oh, Dick Tracy. I like the Dick Tracy movie, even though
I haven't seen it. I've seen ads and news articles and things like that, but I've never actually watched the movie.
Well, Tim Burton's Batman came out, and then Dick Tracy came out. Then a few years later, Shadow came out. And those 2 movies were hurt by the fact they were trying to do a little Tim Burton there. You know what I mean? But overall, I mean, if you like Dick Tracy, this was a Dick Tracy story. You know what I mean? Like, it's not Shakespeare, you know. They did a good job on not letting you know who the mystery villain was. I was totally fooled.
It wasn't Chairface Chippendale, was it?
Oh, I'm not saying anything.
I just that was a villain from the Tick.
And it would have been the only time I ever thought Madonna was hot. After like a decade of people bragging on how hot she was, I'm like, okay, she's hot in this one finally. You know, she had her moment.
Jeremy, get this down together.
Oh my god! And then I think American Splendor is still the most underrated comic book movie ever. Like, I know everybody wants their superheroes and their Avengers and stuff, but American Splendor is just like a masterpiece. That's one of those movies I can watch over and over.
Never saw it. I tried reading American Splendor once, and Harvey, you're a boring person. Go away.
Well, in the movie, they're doing the, reenacting how, doing Harvey. Paul Giamatti is Harvey and stuff. And then I think about 15 minutes into the movie or something, they break the fourth wall, and you see the real Harvey Picar and his real friends on the movie set eating jelly beans, just kind of talking. And all of a sudden, it's like this movie had a certain charm to it all of a sudden. It went a little bit meta, where they weren't breaking the fourth wall, like having the characters talk to you, but it was really cool how they did that little scene, everybody just talking backstage. And they got a whole big moment about Revenge of the Nerds. They spent they had a little storyline there where you're just sort of like, oh my gosh,
I kind of believe that Harvey Picar was a nice guy to talk to, and he could tell you some stories. But if I have to pay to read those stories, they're not that interesting.
I could see that.
I'll tell you what, he did stuff that was really, like in the movie, they did my favorite, I don't know, it's not a story. They did he had a monologue that Robert Crumb drew where he was just talking for 3 or 4 pages, just talking at you, a lot of reading. But he was talking about the phone book. He was talking about his name, how he found another Harvey Picar. And then over the years, there was an obituary that, people were saying, sorry about your dad. And it was a Harvey Picar who had died. And it's like a 3-minute clip you can find on YouTube from it about the phone book, right? That's my favorite thing he's wrote.
That reminds me of that Nathan Johnson.
Huh?
That just reminds me of the whole Nathan Johnson skit in The Jerk. Where he gets
I'm in the phone book. Yeah, but I will say that the Harvey Picar story is a bit more eloquent.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know if you've watched this and stuff. Have you guys been able to watch the Invincible cartoon on Amazon?
It's not something that really appeals to me. So
Yeah,
I've heard good things about it from other people that have watched it.
Have you ever read the Invincible comic?
No.
a few issues in the beginning.
Well, I read a few of them, and it wasn't my thing because all I saw was Peter Parker was invincible. His costume was a gigantic letter I, which made me think Image, like it was kind of pandering. And then it's like his dad was Superman with a Tom Selleck mustache. There's just so many things I didn't like about this. I'm like, he's just took Superman and Spider-Man and Magnum P.I. and put it all together. And I tried to read a few of them. But the other thing is I also don't like Deadpool, but I like the Deadpool movies. I dig this Invincible cartoon. It's still got the violent gore and realistic violence and stuff in it from having super strength and people getting covered in blood. And the comic that came off is just like shock value, but on the cartoon, it actually works out. But I can't get past Superman having a freaking Tom Selleck mustache. That porn stash just makes him creepy to me. I'm like, I can't take him serious. If you're talking to me and you got a mustache and stuff, all I'm looking at is that mustache, thinking you're just an asshole. I'm like, not a lot of people can pull off the mustache.
I was going to say, you must really not like Groucho Marx then.
He pulled it off. Yeah. I think Gallo could pull off a mustache. I think he could do it.
My dad has a mustache
right now.
Yeah. But when you start, there's a certain mustache you get where like you try to look like you just come off as an asshole or like a creepy old porn star. I mean, I could do a whole video.
What about the curled handlebar mustache like Raleigh Fingers had?
Creepy. Those are just creepy.
I just thought they were cool on baseball players. They just seemed.
It makes me look Monty Python crazy, in my opinion. I've seen some nice mustaches. I can appreciate the effort. But
Salvador Dali had a really odd looking mustache like that.
Yeah. I actually have a friend that he's done this whole thing where he's trying to market himself with his mustache. He makes his own comic. He does wrestling. He's done bands for years, and he's always the stash.
Oh, that's Dennis, right?
Yeah, and I love Dennis to death, man. But there's been some times that mustache just creeped me out looking at him, man. I'm like,
I think he wouldn't look the same without it to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that you know Dennis. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh man. Well, guys, I'm going to wind it down here in just a little bit. You guys got anything you want to talk about or anything?
I just want to get back to something that Terrence brought up earlier. He's talking about the soundtrack to Forbidden Planet. The two people, it's a husband-wife team that did the music to it. Since they weren't part of the Musicians Guild, that preempted them from being eligible for any of the Academy Awards or any of the other awards that the movie would have won had they been part of that guild.
Right on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the movie has outlasted any award it could have won or not won back then. You know what I mean? Like, it became a classic, you know.
Such a great movie. If you don't like that movie, something's wrong with you.
I feel like going and getting my Robbie the Robot. Yeah, I feel like going and grabbing my Robbie the Robot toy in here, you know. Like, so, yeah. I mean, so Paolo, the haircut.
Tomorrow. You got to go.
I'm curious to say when we're back on, will we have a story?
Get you some hair there.
Nice.
That's it. So I still have all my hair, but the gray's starting to show now.
Join the club, brother. Welcome to the Grecian formula.
Well, a few years ago, a colleague of mine was younger than me by 5 years or something. We met up after a while, and do you dye your hair? Like, no. Why would I dye my hair?
Yeah. One of my friends went completely gray when he was like 25.
All right, guys, I think I'm going to call this. So, everybody, thanks for hanging in there.
I'm surprised we didn't get another reaction out of you this week like we did last week with the whole Black Sabbath thing.
Nah, last week, a lot of that was the COVID shot. The second shot messed with my mind, of all things. You know, it really did. I felt like I was going through, I mean, we're talking hot flashes and getting attached, and yeah, it messed with me, but I wasn't suffering. It wasn't miserable.
I was lucky. I had less of a reaction to the second one than I did the first one. The first one wasn't bad at all. So I feel lucky now after hearing all these stories from other people.
Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't miserable. But thanks for everybody catching on the rewind. And I guess we'll see you next week. Paolo will probably have a haircut by then. I can't wait to hear about this.
Same Paolo time, same Paolo channel.
Really late by European standards.
There you go.
Later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.